Hello and welcome to the 7th season of Walking the Ways. I am Carolyn Cushing and I'm coming to you from the Connecticut River Valley, the traditional home and unceded territory of the Nipmuc and Pamunkey peoples, with the Wampanoag to the east, the Mohegan and Pequot to the south, the Mohican to the west, and the Abenaki to the north. And I am delighted to be here with...
Hi, I'm Yesbel. I am speaking to you from New York City, Manhattan, the unceded land of the Lenape people.
And Yasbelt and I have been doing this together for 3 years, so I'm very excited to have Yasbelt to be here with us again. And we're doing this welcome. We're saying the places where we're from. We're meeting virtually. It's great to be able to gather with people from around the world. But we are, in a virtual world. But we wanted to say the places where we're from, because one of the intentions of Walking the Ways, the prompts that we give, is to help you connect in the place where you live. So this is not really an online event. Some of the things happen online to help our connection, but to really help you connect more and deeply to the physical place that you are in and to commune with the real world. As each year we have kind of an overarching theme that kind of starts us off, and it's subtle sometimes to carry us through. What was the first year we did it together? Yasbel, what was it? It was our overarching theme. It was the dandelion.
It was 2020, but I can't remember the theme. It was
the dandelion fool.
Ah, yes.
That's right. And then last year it was temperance and alchemical change. This year our guide is love. And so I'm just beginning with a love poem to invite our awareness to the fullness of love. And this just happened to be a poem that I wrote. Because I love. After Kathleen Rain's Amo Ergo song. Because I love, leaf unfurls, deep green to drink radiant sun, day's pilgrim of the sky. Because I love, oak branch prickled with light forms acorn, seed of the next season. Because I love, catbird and crow mix hidden, sweet and sharp among the leaves. Because I love, the stream is cool where boy and girl crab walk the rocks, squeal when foaming water hits them. Because I love, there is rock, eternal in its breaking. We live in the shatter. Because I love in the shatter, I put my rock hard down by the dark bird dead, breast pointed to the sky. Because I love in the shatter, there is a river undammed, rimmed with lace and gold, all weeds twinning. Because I love in the shatter, a nest is made from broken twigs, some down and twists of trash. Because I love in the shatter, blackbird, that catbird, larks and a sparrow, insistent in their song at dawn, break light out of night. Stars fall as we rise into a day as yet untouched and tempting us to live, yes, live as if we mattered. Because we love. And I offer those words, images, something that's in the ether. There are ideas, but what we want to do in Walking the Ways, and what is really Yasbel's real gift and genius to bring to us, is how to bring into physical form, to work with plants, to bring the ideas into our bodies. And so as our second part of this opening of the season, we're going to dive right into offering you some ways to work with plants and to practice. So whenever you're ready,
Okay. Let me see. I don't think, can anyone see me? I don't think anyone can.
Yes, I think you're good. I think our screens are a little odd because we're the hosts, but I got a thumbs up from someone.
Um,
And now I see your
what
whole,
happened to my PowerPoint? Okay, hold on for a moment.
you have it. I can bring it up too.
Can you see this?
Yes, yes.
Click here. So the lovers is part of the inspiration of this year's theme. And in the Herb Crafters Tarot, the lovers is represented by hawthorn. And the theme is love in all its forms and phases, and most certainly including the practice of love of nature. So when we think about hawthorn, it opens up the heart and ignites passion. Berries emerge from pollinated flowers, a partnership that feeds the bee and the tree. I really like that. It's coming directly from the Herb Crafters book. So this is what hawthorn looks like in nature. So if you have some hawthorn trees around where you live, this is what you may experience. This is a hawthorn tree in full bloom in the English countryside. This is what the flowers look like up close. And these are the berries of the hawthorn tree. And this is what it looks like when it's dried. These are the leaves and the flowers and the berries. And all of it has medicinal properties. Oh, I thought I included the medicinal properties, but the hawthorn is good for the heart. So it helps to improve the cardiac function, and it also helps with stress and anxiety. So it's a calming nerve, a calming nervine. So that's one of the reasons why you may want to use hawthorn to help with your heart and also to help calm anxiety. And I think at this time, taking hawthorn could be a good ally for all of us. So here is a tea recipe that I made. It's an infusion blend, and it's inspired by these tarot cards from the Herb Crafters Tarot. So in the center we have hawthorn, and then I added some rose, which is also a heart opener, and linden, which is also like a calming, soothing. It's a good tea to drink during the summer because it's cooling. And then I added some mint just to make it a little, to give it a little bit of a kick, like an uplifting flavor, and licorice to sweeten it. So here are the ingredients. I used 2 parts of hawthorn, 2 parts linden, 2 parts rose, 1 part mint, and half a part of licorice. And I actually made some for today, so I'm sipping on that. And when we talk about a part, it can be any measure that you have. So like you could use like teaspoons or tablespoons or a cup, depending on how big of a batch you want to make. If you use this recipe and you use tablespoons, you'll make about 8 cups of tea. If you choose teaspoons, you'll make about 2 cups of tea. So the way to do this is to have the herbs on hand, measure out and mix the herbs together in a bowl. Use 1 tablespoon for each cup of water. I recommend 8 ounces of water. And then place the herbs in a heat-proof glass vessel. I like to use a French press, which I have here, so then I can sip it throughout the day. And then just cover the herbs with boiling water. This particular blend, you can steep it for 10 to 15 minutes and it'll be ready at that point. And then you could just strain it and sip on it.
Could I give a review of the tea?
Sure.
It is a very delicious tea because Yasbel crafted this. Actually, this is a nice connection. Crafted it for the winter solstice, heart opening. And now we're bringing it back for the summer solstice with a modification. You,
I changed, so if we look at the recipe. Okay, here I switched linden for the winter one was tulsi. I thought tulsi was more of a it's really not a winter herb, but I really like linden, and there are a bunch of linden trees around where I live. It's gonna start blooming soon. So I thought it's more of a summer blend, like a summer herb. So that's why I switched it.
and linden really, I noticed last year, of course, we're in climate chaos, so things do change, but linden really is blooming on the solstice. So it's beautiful to have that, which is really blooming right on the solstice, you know, the idea of like we're eating it, we're bringing it into our teas, we're getting some of that summer full energy into our bodies by drinking the tea. And so that's my review, like it. And also I'm not herb person, I'm not crafty, but even I could make this tea. I went and Yasbel told me what to get and the parts, and I got it and I mixed it together, and I have made it and been drinking it since the winter solstice. And I look forward to redoing it with this linden, the summer solstice tree. Oh, just one thing, you know, herbs are generally, you know, safe, but should anyone, are there any to kind of watch for? You know, hawthorn is good for our heart, but if you had a heart condition, you should double check with your physician, correct?
Yeah, I would say if you are taking any medication, like if you're on a medical regime where you are on a lot of medications, I would check with my doctor first to see if this is going to have any sort of effect. I think all of these are gentle enough where you wouldn't need to, because it's a tea, we're not doing a very strong infusion.
Right.
So I wouldn't think it's necessary, but if it really depends on what kind of medication you're on.
Yeah, just to give that caveat, we really are using gentle, easy to use herbs in our work, but you know, if you do have health conditions where you should double check with your physician, please do that. Okay.
Okay, and then the last page that I have for this section is using tea as for ritual. It could, like the act of taking the water and putting it in the kettle and on the stove, I find that creating that as like a ritual helps me to calm down and to go in through a threshold to create like a special like sacred space for me to journal, or maybe for me to read something, just so that I can get into like a more calm space. For a few years, I would make a tea every single night before I went to bed. And just like the act of putting the water on the stove, that already made me feel like a little bit calm. And then it just started my like routine for getting like my unwind routine to get into bed. So this could be something that you could do to help you get into like your wisdom wandering like time, like frame of mind.
I love that. And, you know, for cultivating love, our through line of this retreat, you know, bringing the tea drinking just throughout the different weeks and our different activities can work on us subtly to bring for the idea. Sometimes, you know, moving toward the height of light, then we get a revelation about love or whatever our intention is, or about what we most need to explore. And this is a hands-on, active, but it's an everyday practice. It's something everyone can do, even I can do. So that is our first gift to you. Yasbelt and I offer this, you know, to start the season, to offer to anyone who's just kind of interested in doing this tending of the solstice season. So the tea was our first gift. Now, I think we are moving into And I'm just pausing a little bit. If anyone wanted to put a question in chat about the tea, we would answer that. Just giving a moment for that to happen. For our folks who are on live, anyone is putting in something into the chat. But where we are going next, and we can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about our structure. So we are virtual. We're going to give a virtual experience of connecting to the elements. And this is a little microcosm of what you will experience as you go through the first 4 weeks of the retreat. Because how this works is every week has a different element that we connect with. We go in the order of earth, air, water, fire. Of course, we're working toward fire because we're working toward the solstice. And if you are doing the email, if you're kind of signed up officially for the retreat, every day you get an email with a little prompt of something to connect with the element. And sometimes it's very much physical, just kind of tuning into the element. There's a prompt that gives a little bit of kind of history or traditional associations that are inspired by tarot correspondences. There's different kind of just some inspirational words and images. And the idea that we're setting up so that you can go on a wisdom wander, what we call a wisdom wander, maybe on the weekend. But of course, there's a structure created, and you should modify the structure to fit your life. If you can't do the wisdom wander on the weekend, but you have some time on, say, a Thursday afternoon, and you go then, that's great. And there's the overview booklet. If you're signed up, you get the full description of things. And then you go through the first week, you'll kind of know the pattern. There's very much of like, here's a pattern, here's a structure, and we go through it each year. And actually, yes, but you were saying something interesting about, why you want to do it again, even though it's the same every year.
Yeah, so it is the same every year. Well, it's not exactly the same, it's a little different, but the reason why I like to do it is because I'm different. And my experience kind of opens my eyes to seeing the content from a different perspective. So I really like that. And I also like all of the invitations to get outside because, most likely I kind of don't like being hot. So I might avoid going outside, but since you send a few invitations throughout the week to get outside, I like that.
And I love that you said invitations, because something that I constantly remind people, and this is really good to say on the opening session, is it's a retreat in everyday life. It's to weave into your everyday life. You don't have to remove yourself from the place where you live, from your everyday activities, but to bring into every day, or as many days as you can, a pause of some kind, something that brings you to think about, it gets us out of the details of the keyboard or whatever we're working on, and gets us to kind of look up and around. So they come as invitations, and some days you may do the invitation, some days you won't, but you can never fall behind. This is what comes, what grabs your attention, what you have time for. That's what you need to tend your soul. And there is that the invitation is coming, maybe makes you think a little bit okay, I'm going to make sure that I set a little time aside each day, or each week. You fit it, you craft it to match what you need. So anyway, we go the elemental wisdom wanders, and our focus there is we're looking for questions, not answers. The prompts will come to help you make questions. And then we go to the solstice, and on the solstice, we pick one of the questions, because we've done a lot of exploring. We generated those questions, and the height of light comes to give us the prompts to pick the question that will really tend our soul, that speaks to the need of now. And we picked that question, and in our final kind of week and a half of the retreat, we introduced the pilgrimage structure. And the idea of the pilgrimage, it's similar to the wisdom wander, but there is a purpose of finding an answer to the question. And we're really not expecting, in that particular period of time that you like complete the pilgrimage, but to give you some prompts for planning a pilgrimage where you take that question that's burning for you and seek an answer or seek the next question that keeps you moving forward. So that's a little bit of the overview of the season, the structure. And now we are here with, I'm going to give you this in a little bit of a little micro experience of the whole. And the guide for this is I'm Kathleen Matthews, who's a teacher in the Celtic tradition. I've modified slightly one of her elemental blessings, and I'll read it aloud, and then we're going to go through all of the areas. This is the elemental blessing. Blessed be the precious and preserving earth by which we are sustained. Blessed be the precious and preserving air by which we are given life. Blessed be the precious and preserving water by which we are cleansed. Blessed be the precious and preserving fire by which we are warmed. Blessed be the precious and preserving spirit that is within and around me. And this meditation, there is a visual. You may want to close your eyes at some point. But there's a visual for you to look at if you are inclined to open your eyes. So maybe when I say the line, Yasbel will advance things. So our first, blessed be the precious and preserving earth by which we are sustained. We have Ace of Pentacles. So you may want to just be gazing on that image for a little bit, for a moment, and let something call your attention. Just look with a soft gaze. All these images. And then if you'd like, you're invited to close your eyes. As you're closing your eyes, you're tuning into the place where your body is supported by a chair, by a bed, by the floor. And know that that place is also supported. The building where you're at, it's supported going down into the earth. The earth is below you, supporting you. And those places where your body is touching, it might be that these places in the body, your feet, your seat, as you're there, kind of being, making that connection, you might imagine or sense in some way, there's part of you going down like little roots or a cord of connection, going down from your feet, from your seat, into the earth. It's going down into the dark soil, maybe going by rock, maybe passing living creatures. Maybe the ancestors are there for you in the soil, in the ground, in the earth that offers you support. When you take a breath in, you might imagine that energy of earth flowing toward you, moving toward you, coming up through your feet, through your seat, coming into your torso, maybe relaxing your belly. Just let go into the support of the earth. And that earth energy keeps coming up until it reaches your heart. Here you might get a sense. You can almost feel it in your body or trust it, or you get some visual, that earth energy holding your heart, grounding and sustaining you. Sustained by the earth, we can now acknowledge, blessed be the precious and preserving air by which we are given life. Maybe you want to open your eyes and gaze on this image, or maybe you're just staying internal. From our element of air, different tarot cards, experiencing the air which gives our life, gives us life. Keep your eyes open. Whenever you're ready, you might close them again. See what stays with you. Then take a deep breath in. Feel how this breathing in lifts your heart. Heart that is held is now lifted by the breath. And it might be almost as if your heart is expanding. You may feel it. You may sense your heart. You may see it as a color. And each breath you're taking in is expanding your heart. And that air is moving from your heart to all kinds of places in the body. It's going to anywhere that needs a little expansion, a little healing, a little renewal. Maybe somewhere stiff in your body. Just a place you want to send some energy of the breath that gives us life. Now with our heart held and grounded, expanded by air, we move to experience the blessed and precious preserving water by which we are cleansed. You may want to open to take a look at this flowing water. Keep your eyes closed, that works for you. When you're ready, you may want to close your eyes. You might imagine yourself as if you're in a fountain. The fountain of the image is around you. It's almost as if you can sense that water flowing over you. And you might imagine almost as if there's an opening in the top of your head. And that cool water is coming down. That cleansing water is coming down, flowing from your head, down through your throat, into your heart. And here you feel how the heart is pumping your blood. The water inside you. The water that is the same, the blood that is the same salination as the ocean. Maybe you want to put your hands over your heart, feel it beat, and know that that's the water within you, moving and flowing like the ocean, like the river, like the stream. Flowing out from the heart through the whole of your body. Take a moment to let those cleansing waters flow out from your heart and move through your body. And then, blessed be the precious and preserving fire by which we are warmed. There's an image here. Red baby, the spark of life, the world. Spend a moment gazing if you'd like. When you're ready, you can close your eyes. Drop your attention into your heart. Grounded, expanded, flowing. And it might be almost as if rising from your heart is a flame. The flame of your cells, the energy of your body. Maybe you feel it sparkle all through your chest and down your arms. Maybe the tips of your fingers, you rub them together. Almost, you can feel that heat, the cells of your body glowing, keeping you warm, keeping you shining your light into the world. Now, just keeping your eyes closed, just tune into the heart, grounded, expanded, flowing, sparking. This amazing muscle, symbolic place within you. And as you are tuning into that fullness, everything combined, you might give thanks and say, "Blessed be the precious and preserving spirit that is within and around me." And now I'd like you to bring your attention to the top of your head, that place where you imagine the water flowing in. You might imagine something like a flower on the top of your head, and its petals are open. But then they begin to close, like a flower closes down for the night. Because this flower is sealing into you this elemental giftedness, this energy that can help you move through weeks of walking the ways. And then bring your attention to the bottom of your feet, to your seat, to the place where you're connected through to the earth. Here too, you might imagine flowers, maybe 1,000 spring ephemerals. They're open, but then they close. They're closing, they're sealing this energy so that you can have this elemental energy for walking forward with openness and curiosity and in love. Finally, you may want to bring your hands over your heart. Seal into your heart all this elemental energy to support you on this journey through the season. And then you're invited to kind of bring your palms forward and half open your eyes and look at your palms. You're looking at your palms and you see the fire, the water, the air, the earth that makes you up. Right there in your palms. And you may want to bring them together a bit in prayer position, but then reach them up to the sky. Open up your eyes wide, look up, and come back refreshed, awake, and alert for a little more of our gathering. So this is very, very tiny, kind of elemental connection, and little microcosm of what you might experience as you go through each of the weeks. And of course, each element will speak to you differently. Maybe different elements spoke to you in doing this. Maybe as you go through the weeks, some element might have a gift for you. And as we go through the weeks, there will also be each week, just to mention, we are being guided by the ACEs, by the weeds. Yazbel will have herb crafting practices for us to be able to take them into our body. Do you want to say a little bit more about that, or should we move on to Wisdom Wanders, Yazbel?
I think we should move on to Wisdom
Okay.
Wanders. Yeah.
So we are just going to give you tell a few stories about some Wisdom Wanders and show a few images. Just there's no way to do it, but just to kind of prompt some thoughts for you. All right, and we have here, these are 4 pictures from various Wisdom Wanders that we did. And Yazbel, you're first up here. Go reading left to right. Do you want to tell a little story here about you and what's happening in Yarrow?
So this was from when I went to visit you, and I hadn't driven. So like I hadn't driven in a few years. So actually driving from Manhattan to where you live, that was kind of like a pilgrimage for me. And while we were there, we went out with our tarot cards a lot. But one of the things that stuck out to me was that you had yarrow growing in your front yard. So I harvested some flowers of yarrow so that I could make a tincture, which is this yarrow is known as, actually no, I'm thinking about a different plant, but yeah, yarrow is a plant that is one of the weeds that we're using, and it has like energetic properties. But yeah, so that was one of the things that we chose to do on that Wisdom Wander, was to harvest some plants.
And also, like the Wisdom Wander, I mean, that's just my yard, but that's like, the Wisdom Wander can happen anywhere, and you don't have to move, don't have to necessarily move around a lot. Although, I mean, I do love the invitation to do long walks. So, I mean, it's like a little bit of my bias, but in doing this and this particular example, like just being in a yard, a park, being in your apartment with plants, like I feel like Yazbel's plant there is like with us, you know, her presence. Okay, so then the next picture is mine. And this is, I think you can see the strawberries. And this is the 6 of trees from the Shining Tribe, which is a favorite deck. Oh, and just a word on decks. There's no one deck to use in doing this. We took the Herb Crafter Tarot as like a guide for us because it provided us with some structure and tips around different ways to work with these herbs and combining tarot with herbs. So that's why it's a guiding one for us. And it is a great deck. It's a great deck to have. Shining Tribe, I happen to love it. So I took it out last summer solstice. And I did this for the first time last year. I had the idea earlier and I was not organized enough to do it. But on the summer solstice, I went and harvested strawberries. And I, of course, ate some right in the field, like hot from the field. But I also froze some. And I saved them to eat them on the winter solstice in a kind of a ritual way. So that I connected the summer solstice and the winter solstice. It connected light and dark. It connected life and death. So it was very simple practice, and it's just like working with strawberries, but it was very profound for me. And I pass that on in case anyone wants to do it. So that's story number 2. Should I keep going? Because I'm the next picture.
Yeah.
All right. So now this interesting, well, I think it's kind of interesting of like this, it's a black marble floor. And what is that? Is that the sky, the moon, the sun? And then we've got some tarot and my feet. So this was actually, went with my family to Mass MoCA, which is a museum that is here. It's like an hour away from us. And I brought cards. I brought my Wisdom Wander cards that I'd been working with. And I invited my family to participate, like I helped them pull cards before. And just as we went through the museum, which is a very interactive museum, I pulled out cards. And they did it a little bit. They didn't do it as much as me, but they did. So that was, you can do it with other people and kind of bring them along. And like my family is not big tarot users. They know I use it and I use it with them for fun things. So you can kind of use it for, anyone who's open to these things. And what this opening is it's, what is it called? The ocularium or something? No, it's just an opening, and that's the sky. And the sky is just reflected on the floor. And I pulled out, this happens to be a very kind of strange High Priestess card from the Marielle deck. So like, okay, what does it mean? Like I could read this as an image and contemplate it like, okay, some High Priestess, receptive to like the mysteries of the sky coming and being reflected. The greater than the sky, the celestial, the spirit reflected in very, very earthy, the marble floor. So that's how I worked with that. So that is story number 3. And finally,
the last story is, that's a little like tree guard near where my office was before. And I was on my way to the library. You can see it in the background here. And I had already picked, this was like middle of the week, I had already picked my way shower cards, which is something that Carolyn invites us to do, is to pick cards to show us the way for the Wisdom Wander every week. And these were my cards that I chose for Earth. I like to pick, it's from the 3 cards that Carolyn, you came up with this. It's like one from the Major Arcana, one from the court cards, and then one from the Minor Arcana. So as I was walking to the library, I remembered my cards, and then I thought that you can garden anywhere, even in this little like tree garden in the middle of Manhattan. So that's how, that's just like an image, an idea that came up to me, and I went on the computer and made this image with the tarot cards.
So interesting what they're doing with their hands. I'm looking at it, I'm like reading it as an image, which that does bring up another, like, as you're out in the world with the cards, sometimes doing little, some earth altars, or like going home and creating some kind of visual representation. And I just love how this is in the city, right? That nature is everywhere. That's our secret agenda, to just help people connect with nature everywhere. So I think those are our Wisdom Wander stories, like through stories, giving you a few ideas of how it could work. And there could be an infinite number of stories. So the next thing on our list, so I'm kind of looking in chat if people have questions, if questions are coming up. And we will have Q&A, but I have here number 5, invite people to participate. We invite people to do this, to move toward the solstice. The more people doing it, it's kind of nice to have that energy of us doing this work, moving toward the solstice. And however you want to do it, you can just kind of be on your own. But we do invite you, if you want to sign up for the retreat, soulpathsanctuary.com. The daily emails start tomorrow. Because of the way this is something that's a little different, because of the way the moon is, the first email is like tomorrow, it's our love theme. The next Monday, it's going to be a moon connection, because we follow what's happening with the moon too. That's always a little different each year. But tomorrow the emails start, and then next Sunday is the first sharing circle that we do each time. And those are not recorded, just so people can share. Oh, but something to mention, midweek or early in the week, Yazbelt and I will make a short video with just a little bit of something about the element.
Aircraft.
And then,
Yeah.
and we'll be working with the aces again, the weeds again. So that's it. And oh, okay. And the sharing circle. For doing the sharing circle, we have guidelines. And the people on live, when we end the recording, we're going to have our sharing circle. But we thought to let you know what are the supportive guidelines that we use in our sharing circles. And we usually say them when we start. It's a little bit of an invocation. It like helps us create the container. And are we going to alternate reading these? Do you have them? I have them. So
If you want to, sure.
so you have them up. All right. So
Yeah.
shall I start? I'll do, and then we'll alternate.
Sure.
Okay. So our first one is listening. Listening will be the greatest gift we can offer to each other.
Offering, we can offer the wisdom we know from our different backgrounds and various traditions in our diverse group to make and view the offerings as prompts for inspiration rather than absolute truths might be the most beneficial perspective to carry.
Sharing. We will share our stories with each other. We'll offer each other insights from our own experience. And then each one of us gets to choose which offerings are helpful and useful to use, follow, or discard. Each one of us owns our own experience. And I think the next one is being present.
Being present, you are invited to leave the outside world behind as much as possible, as a gift to yourself and to others.
Seeking. We recognize that we are each on a path and doing the best that we can, sometimes making mistakes and sometimes tapping into deep wisdom. Our perfectly imperfect selves are welcome in the group.
Confidentiality, we'll be discussing practice, seasonal insights, and the tarot that can be shared, but individual stories will not be shared beyond the circle.
So that's what guides our sharing circles that we have Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I usually try and put the time converter in the emails. So next on our outline is Q&A. Does anyone have a question about the season, walking the ways, what we're doing, the practices, logistics? I'm just kind of watching the chat to give people a moment. If they want to put something in the chat, I'm looking to see if I see anyone like kind of raising their hand, like, oh yes, I need to know this. Okay, this group is very trusting, maybe, like just ready to dive in. These are people who are excited. I think we're not seeing questions, which is great. I always welcome questions via email if you want to have questions. Okay, so we are moving into something we're going to set up for people listening on the recording. But we are going to have a private sharing circle of the people online. But so what we invite, Yazbelt is always good at reminding us to set intentions. Why is setting intentions like so helpful to you? You really seem to tend that as a practice, Yasbel?
Because it serves as like a guide and something to remember if I ever like lose my focus. It just helps me to stay focused.
Yes. What's interesting for me with intentions, like this intention we're setting is kind of for the whole season. So it's, you know, long term. But so sometimes I forget kind of in the middle, but then I go back at the end and like, I'm like, oh, I know what happened now. It helps me to understand what happened to me and put it in context. Great. So we're gonna put this instruction. I do think there's a question in the chat, but we're gonna go forward at the moment with, so the invitation to you now is to set an intention for this season of walking the ways, this season guided by love, this season where our teachers will be the elements and weeds. And you are invited to pull a card and have it help you set the intention, or you could know an intention and go and look for that card to be your anchor, or you don't have a deck at all and you bring something to your mind, or you have some artwork, or there's a plant around you. You could also have some plant or herb near you be your intention setter. So we're just going to give people a moment to do that.
Well, there is a question. It says, I'd like to know how important it is to attend the sharing circle, especially as I am generally only have one Sunday a month off.
Okay,
That's from Kate.
let's address that, but let's give people a moment to pick their card, just so they have it. Then we'll go to that for sure. And then we do our end. Just take a moment to pull your card. Have time to do that. Take a little look at it first, let something bubble up. Okay, so I see people having their cards. We will, when we shut off the video, we're going to talk about them. But and just before we do our final close, this question: how important is it to attend the sharing circles? I have a thought. Do you have a thought, Yasbel? Who should go first?
You should go first.
Well, I'm thinking of really the sharing circles are a gift to yourself and to the others who come. And how much can you give yourself that gift? I mean, we all have things we have to juggle into our lives. And as I always say, you know, like, it's like, this is a retreat. You don't have to do everything. If it's the only possibility in your life to come the one time, then come that one time. And Yasbel and I will work to weave you in. And as much, it is, you know, the sharing circle, we get to know each other a little bit. So people who are kind of coming get to know each other, but it's also they're very welcoming. So that was my reaction. What's yours, Yasbel?
My reaction is, I totally get it. Like, if you only have one Sunday a month off, then, you know, maybe you want to be frolicking in the sun. So I totally understand that. But I think the sharing circle is about like sharing insights with other people, and also, like Carolyn said, like receiving insights. But you can always do that also in the Facebook group. We have a private Facebook group where you could share your ideas, or if you took some pictures, you can post them there. And we also have a hashtag, it's called Wisdom Wonder on Instagram. So if you have like an image, you can put that there as well, and then we can find it with that hashtag.
Yes, there are lots of ways to participate. And to say, people do participate in different ways. So there's not, this is not a course, like you're not doing a course and you have to do these things and they build. And probably important is like what's important to you, and thinking about the group, how to connect to the group. So I hope that helped. That helped, Kate. And so we are moving to the closing of the recording. But people who are here live, don't run away. And just for our closing, we're just going to have this blessing read in its entirety again. That's right. You're going to do that for us, Yazbel.
Okay. Blessed be the precious and preserving earth by which we are sustained. Blessed be the precious and preserving air by which we are given life. Blessed be the precious and preserving water by which we are cleansed. Blessed be the precious and preserving fire by which we are warmed. Blessed be the precious and preserving spirit that is within and around me.
Thank you to the elements for being here with us. Blessed be. All right, I will now end this recording and just do welcome questions from people watching it later.